Part 2. Aftermath and Whispers. The gurney's wheels squeaked as it rolled down the dimly lit hallway, carrying away what once was a mother and her unborn child. The echoes seemed to reverberate endlessly, bouncing off the cold, stereo walls until the sound became a haunting rhythm that refused to fade. Hannah watched from a distance, her legs feeling like lead, her heart pounding with every beat. She thought she had seen it all: birth, death, triumph, tragedy, but this was different. There was a chill in the air, something that pressed down on her chest, making it hard to breathe. Dr. Clark stood nearby, his face pale and drawn beneath the harsh hospital lights. He pulled off his blood-streaked gloves with a practiced but weary motion, the latex snapping like a final punctuation to an unwritten sentence. "Another one," he said, his voice low and bitter. The words hung in the air, heavy with despair and resignation. He didn't elaborate, didn't need to. Those who heard him exchanged worried glances, a silent acknowledgement of the darkness that had settled over their work. As the doors to the morgue clicked shut, the staff dispersed, each carrying their own burdens of fear and fatigue. But the whispers began almost immediately, spreading like a contagion. Hannah caught fragments of hushed conversations in the break room, murmurs in the hallways, fleeting glances exchanged over patient charts. Another mother lost: "It's happening too often, something's not right here." Hannah leaned against a cold metal countertop, staring into her cup of lukewarm coffee as if it might offer answers. She tried to drown out the rising voices around her, but they were relentless, growing more frantic with each passing day. A nurse named Bethany, her eyes hollow from too many sleepless nights, sat beside her. "Did you hear?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "This month alone, 10 mothers and their babies. 10, Hannah." Hannah swallowed hard, her throat tight. "It can't be true," she whispered back, more to herself than to Bethany. But she knew it was. She had seen it. She had felt the icy grip of death in that delivery room. She closed her eyes, trying to push the memories away, but the image of the lifeless mother and child refused to leave. "Maybe it's just bad luck," a younger nurse interjected, her voice shaking as she tried to inject some semblance of reason. "Maybe. Complications happen not like this," Bethany shot back, her hands trembling. "Not with this frequency. I've been here for over a decade, and I've never seen anything like it." She turned to Hannah, desperation in her eyes. "Something is wrong. You can feel it, can't you?" Hannah didn't respond, but her silence spoke volumes. He could feel it. Everyone could. The hospital had become a place of shadows, whispers, and fear. The air felt thick, almost oppressive, as if the walls themselves were closing in. Rumors swirled, stories of restless spirits, of curses, of something malevolent lurking in the corridors. Most dismissed it as superstition, a way for the staff to make sense of the senseless. But for Hannah, the chill was all too real. She forced herself to focus on her tasks, hoping routine would numb the gnawing dread. But everywhere she went, reminders of that night haunted her. The blood-stained sheets had been replaced, but the memory of their crimson spread lingered like a phantom stain. The delivery room was scrubbed clean, but it still felt tainted, as if the walls had absorbed the suffering. She found herself avoiding it whenever possible. One evening, as she passed the room, she heard it, a faint, almost imperceptible whisper. She stopped in her tracks, her breath catching. Straining to listen, she heard it again, a soft, mournful plea. "Help me!" It sent a chill racing down her spine. She peered into the empty room, her heart pounding. Nothing. Just shadows playing tricks in the dim light. She shook her head, trying to shake off the unease. But deep down, she knew what she had heard. Word spread quickly among the staff. Stories of strange occurrences, piled up lights flickering without reason, cold spots that seemed to move through the hallways, and the distant sound of a baby's cry echoing through the night. Some dismissed it as stress, as overworked minds playing cruel tricks. But others, like Hannah, began to wonder if there was something more. Late one night, as Hannah sat in the dim-lit break room, Dr. Clark appeared, his face gaunt and shadowed. He seemed older, worn down by the weight of too many losses. He poured himself a cup of coffee, his hands shaking slightly. "You hear them too, don't you?" he asked, his voice low and haunted. Hannah looked up, startled. He met her gaze, and for a moment, all pretense of authority was stripped away. He was just a man, afraid and weary. "I don't know what I hear," she replied, her voice barely a whisper. "But it's not right." Dr. Clark nodded slowly, his eyes dark with something Hannah couldn't quite name: fear, Regret, or perhaps both. We have to stay focused, he said, but the words lack conviction. We have patients to care for. He turned and walked away, leaving Hannah alone with the echoes of the past and the whispers of the unseen. Over the following weeks, the hospital's atmosphere grew more oppressive. Patients and staff alike sensed a heaviness in the air, a coldness that seemed to seep into their bones. The rumors persisted, gaining strength with each tragedy. The hospital is cursed, some said. It's haunted, others whispered. And while many dismissed it as hysteria, Hannah couldn't shake the feeling that something dark and terrible had taken root. One night, as she made her round, she paused outside the morgue. The faint, rhythmic thudding of her heartbeat was the only sound. She hesitated, then pushed open the door. The cold air rushed out to meet her, sending a shiver down her spine. Inside, shadows danced in the dim light, and for a moment she thought she saw movement, a flicker of something inhumanly quick. Hannah, the voice was faint, a breath of sound, but it made her blood run cold. She spun around, but the room was empty. Empty, save for the silent bodies waiting for their final journey. She backed away, her breath coming in shallow gasps. The whispers had become louder, more insistent, and she knew she couldn't ignore them any longer. The hospital had become a place of secrets, of whispers that refused to stay buried. And as the staff struggled to carry on, the darkness grew ever closer, feeding on their fear, their grief, and the unresolved horrors that lingered just beyond the edge of sight. Hannah knew that whatever was haunting the hospital wasn't done with them, not by a long shot. It was only just beginning.